The true price of disloyalty. What is it costing you? Today on the Landlord Coach Daily show, let's drop the needle and talk about it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Landlord Coach Daily show. My name is Mark Dolfini, host of the Landlord Coach Daily show and Landlord Coach. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining me today. So today's topic is, what is disloyalty costing you? Man, we can go on. We can go in so many different directions with this, right? And if you notice, look at the fancy, like the fancy color down at the bottom. I actually figured out how to change the color. Yeah, I'm like super bougie now, and like I don't even know how to spell bougie, but I feel like I'm all bougie. Anyway, welcome to the Landlord Coach Daily show today. So what is disloyalty costing you? So I was thinking about this in a couple of different contexts today because, you know, there's just so much going on in politics, and Lord knows you're not watching this because of my astute political, whatever. I have none. I have. And I say this lovingly, and I, cover the kids' ears. I really have no shits to give about politics anymore. I used to care. I used to be that guy that would like spend days and days arguing with strangers on Facebook about politics. And at the end of the day, both of us left just angry and, mad, whatever. I literally don't care anymore. And I think there's just so many people that are just ready for the world to move on from that. But if you're looking at, the cost of disloyalty among friends, among family members, among business associates, what is the cost of disloyalty, and what is disloyalty costing you? And I was thinking back to a story of, I won't say this woman's name because it just really kind of shocked me that she tried to formulate an entire business model based around disloyalty. And I'll tell you what I'm talking about here for just a second. But what her plan was, she was a rental property investor. She did not just rental properties. She did all sorts of properties. She did flips. She did a little bit of everything. And I don't think she's really a bad person. Thanks for the heart, my bride. Nice to see you, Jenny Poo. But my bride, if you saw my bride offline, you would understand why I give her deference, because she's just, super smoking hot. And of course I'm going to say hello to her. So, but getting back to this gal, she did a lot of real estate stuff. So she did, lots of rehabs, lots of different things. And she had said publicly that she would often try out different vendors and would say, with promises of, oh, I'll give you future work if you give me a break on this price. Now, she lives in an area where you can get away with that for a while before people start getting hip to your scheme. And what would happen was, let's say if it was a painter. So the painter would say, oh, okay, well, I'll give you, 50% off our regular pricing. Some painters would just go in there and paint an apartment for free so you could see their quality of work. And then if their quality of work was good, then they, of course, they kind of use that as a loss leader for picking up extra work, which I understand. Don't necessarily condone it, but I certainly get it. Lots of industries do that, free samples, that sort of thing. I totally get it. This woman based her entire business model on doing that. It didn't matter if it was plumbing work or painters or, generally plumbers are not going to do that. But, she had a substantial number of rental units or units in general that she could do this with. And I was thinking, wow, and some other people were thinking that, wow, that's a really great idea. And I was like, that is the opposite of a great idea. That's a great way to get your house burned down, right? Like, you screwed somebody out of several $1,000s of potential future work, and what it was. So it was down the road where I it's not a person that I run into often. And she would message me every now and again, ask me if I knew someone in her area that could do this or that, this type of work. And I'm thinking, like, I'm not sending anybody to you, because like now I'm questioning if you're even going to pay them if they did do work for you. So what ended up happening, she needed a locksmith, and she had burned through a couple different locksmiths in an area. Now, there's not a lot of locksmiths out there. I mean, at least not that I've been exposed to, and they want to be paid. So she tried pulling this thing of like, hey, I'm going to, promise a future work, give me a break on the pricing, blah, blah, blah. Well, of course, what ended up happening, and I guess these two particular locksmiths knew one another, and they both kind of agreed, like, hey, if this woman calls, I'm not going to, you promise I'm not going to go do work, whatever. I mean, we want payment up front. So they, I don't know if they were brothers or they knew each other, something. It was some familial relationship, maybe cousins, but whatever it was, they agreed that they weren't going to do work for this person. And they really were the only game in town. I know that they were the only 24-hour service in town. So it was really funny. So what ended up happening was someone broke into a vacant property, and she needed the door secured. And it wasn't like the door the lock had been damaged, but the door jamb was still salvageable, but she needed the lock replaced, and she wasn't particularly handy, and she didn't have anybody else to go do it. So she called up and said, would you go do this thing? And it was really funny because they wouldn't go. And, they wouldn't even do it for payment up front. They just flat refused to go. And it was really interesting because in order to get that door, and it was a simple, lock thing, which could have cost maybe $100-$150. I mean, not a tremendous amount. She actually had to pay, because of the middle of winter, she actually had to pay a restoration company to go out and to board up the door, because, and they would it was a board up at that point. They just couldn't, they weren't going to install a lock. I mean, they'd had to go to the store and buy a lock, and they're like, no, that's not what we do. So, she ended up having to pay like $500 or $600 to, and I'm interpolating here because I'm just saying I know what a board up costs because I've had to do that for fires and stuff. So she probably had to pay somewhere between $400 and $600 for like a piece of plywood to be nailed, or screwed over a doorway, because that's the way she had done business, and everybody knew it. So what is disloyalty costing you? And that just really, it resonated with me in just such a way, like, man, like, why would you build a business like that, especially if it's something that you're going to be doing long term, and especially in a real estate business, which is a people business. I've said that multiple times, so that shouldn't be a shock to anybody. But real estate is a people business. It's no different. So why would you do that to people, especially these mom and pop operations, which, they have to turn money, turn things over pretty quickly. So that was one of the things that I recognized. And one of the other things, I'm just going to wrap this up, because I want to go home. I've actually been working a lot lately, and I need some time off. So I'm actually going to head home early today. But one of the things that I do that I always really encourage is your vendors. If you want loyalty in your vendors, there's one very, very simple thing that you can do. Very simple thing. Okay. It's almost ridiculous. Pay them fast. Pay them fast. Don't make them wait 30, 45 days, 60 days, because you know what? That's what every day in the industry that I'm in property management industry, that's what every other skeezy property management company is doing. If you're not a skeezy property manager, then it doesn't apply to you. But if you're a skeezy property manager that makes your vendors wait 60 days, shame on you, man. These are people that need their money. They need their money fast. Like if they're out there doing, whatever it is, HVAC, plumbing, drywall repair, painting, whatever it is, carpet cleaning, whatever it is, pay your vendors fast. And I don't mean even within 30 days. There's no reason to wait longer than maybe 10 or 15 days in your accounting cycle. You have the damn money. There's no reason to do it except, you're just choosing not to value them. You're choosing to be disloyal. What are you going to do with that money sitting in your account for an extra couple of days? It does not make sense. So that's really, I think that building loyalty, if we looked at building loyalty with one another, in terms of relationships, that probably might change a lot of other things other than just business. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm not running for president or anything. I don't have anything else to say beyond that. So I don't have a quote today. I'll be honest with you, I'm like ready to go home and take my shoes off. So I don't have a fancy quote. I'm just going to sign off and say, please be sure to place a value on your free time, because if you don't, someone else will. Most important, there is no amount of money that will make time irrelevant. Have an awesome day. I'll see you next time.